Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, Ivy got a story for you that's a real eye-opener, a tale of hidden strength, family dynamics, and finding your voice when it matters most. It's a powerful reminder that true worth isn't measured by what others see, but by the quiet power you carry within. So grab a comfy seat, because this is one you won't want to miss. Our story begins with Margaret, a woman who had faced her share of heartbreak. After losing her husband, she'd spent years meticulously rebuilding her life, piece by painstaking piece. She dreamed of a perfect family vacation, hoping it would finally bridge the growing distance between her and her son, Daniel. His wife, Sabrina, was always polite, but her warmth never quite reached her eyes. And the grandchildren? Well, they barely noticed Margaret unless there was something they needed. Still, Margaret held on to hope, believing this trip could be their chance to reconnect. The destination was a stunning seaside resort, a grand, luxurious place boasting glittering glass walls and polished marble floors. As they arrived, Margaret's heart swelled with a secret pride. What her family didn't know, couldn't even fathom, was that this magnificent resort belonged to her. Every shimmering chandelier, every meticulously manicured garden, every solid brick had been built through her sweat, her vision, and countless sacrifices. She had never told them, you see. She yearned for their love, not for her wealth, but for the woman she truly was, the person beneath the layers of her quiet life. At the reception desk, a young clerk greeted Margaret with a warm, respectful smile. "Welcome home, ma'am." But before Margaret could even respond, Sabrina, with a dismissive wave of her hand, scoffed, "Don't talk to her. She's just tagging along with us." Daniel, her own son, stood silently beside his wife, offering no protest, no defense, just a weak chuckle as Sabrina laughed at her own cruel joke. Margaret felt a familiar pang, but she swallowed it down, clinging to her hopeful facade. That evening at dinner, the criticisms continued. Sabrina mocked everything: the exquisite food, the elegant music, and even Margaret's carefully chosen dress. She whispered loudly to her daughter, with a sneer, that it looked like something from the last century. Margaret sat quietly, her hands trembling almost imperceptibly beneath the table. The weight of their indifference, the casual cruelty, pressed down on her. But still, she held her tongue, perhaps hoping that if she remained silent, things might somehow improve. The next morning, Margaret found herself wandering through the resort's sprawling garden, a place she had designed decades ago, when this very land was nothing but wild earth. She vividly remembered planting the first trees, the thrill of cutting the ribbon on opening day, the immense pride she felt as her vision became reality. But then, she heard the sound of laughter nearby. It was her family, gossiping amongst themselves, completely oblivious to her presence, treating her as if she were invisible. Then, a chilling whisper pierced through the tranquil morning air. It was Sabrina, her voice dripping with disdain. "Once that old woman's gone, maybe we'll finally get a house from whatever she's saved, though I seriously doubt she even has a bank account." And then, the ultimate betrayal. Daniel, her son, chuckled, adding, "Yeah, she acts like she used to run companies. She can't even run a microwave." Margaret froze. The words hit her like a physical blow, stealing her breath. Tears welled up in her eyes, blurring the beautiful garden she had created. But in that very moment, something shifted deep within her. The quiet, gentle woman who had endured so much disrespect began to stir. A powerful, unyielding strength, long dormant, awakened. The kind of strength that comes when you realize enough is truly enough. That evening, with a newfound resolve, Margaret opened her suitcase. From its depths, she pulled out an old, worn leather envelope. Inside, carefully preserved, were the irrefutable ownership documents of the resort, along with faded newspaper clippings proudly proclaiming her the Iron Widow who built an empire. There were also precious photographs of her, younger, vibrant, cutting the ribbon on the resort's opening day, years before her family ever knew her. The next morning, as her family stood casually in the lobby, engrossed in their own world, the resort's manager approached Margaret with a deferential bow. "Good morning, Mrs. Carter," he said, his voice respectful. "Shall we prepare the conference hall for your meeting?" Sabrina, ever quick to mock, burst into laughter. "For her asterisk. You must be joking," she scoffed, unable to contain her derision. The manager, however, remained completely unfazed. He replied with unwavering firmness, "Not at all, Madam Mrs. Carter is the owner of this resort." The entire lobby went silent. The vibrant hum of morning activity ceased. Daniel, her son, stood utterly speechless, his mouth slightly agape. Sabrina's face, which moments before had been flushed with laughter, now went stark white, drained of all color. Margaret looked at them, not with anger, but with a quiet, steely calm. "He's telling the truth," she stated, her voice clear and resonant in the sudden quiet. "I built this place, every inch of it. 4 years. I kept it a secret because I wanted to know if my son loved me for who I was, or for my money. Now," she concluded, her gaze unwavering, "I know." Sabrina, flustered and stammering, tried to cobble together some semblance of an apology. But Margaret cut her off, her voice firm. "You meant every single word," she said, her tone leaving no room for doubt. "The insults, the laughter, the casual disrespect. And Daniel," she turned to her son, a deep sorrow in her eyes, "you laughed when they mocked me. You treated me like a burden, like an inconvenience. For what? Money? Comfort? You have lost something far greater than any material possession, Daniel. You've lost my trust." Then, with a decisive turn, she addressed the manager. "Please remove their names from the complimentary guest list," she instructed, her voice steady, "and charge every single expense to their personal account." Sabrina gasped, her voice rising in disbelief. "You can't be serious." Margaret, however, offered a small, knowing smile. "I've never been more serious," she replied. "You came here to use me, but you'll leave learning that I owe you nothing." And with that, she walked away, her head held high, leaving her stunned family in the silent, watchful gaze of the resort staff and guests. Humiliated and speechless, Daniel and Sabrina, along with their children, were escorted out of the very lobby where they had so carelessly mocked her just moments before. That night, Margaret sat on her private balcony, the gentle ocean breeze kissing her face as the moonlight danced silver on the waves. For the first time in what felt like years, she felt a profound sense of peace, not because of the wealth she possessed, but because she had bravely reclaimed her dignity. She whispered softly into the night, "Respect can't be bought, and love that depends on wealth isn't love at all." The next morning, a beautiful bouquet of flowers and a heartfelt note were left at her door by the resort staff. It read, "To the woman who taught us that strength is quiet, but it never, ever fades." As the sun rose, casting a golden glow over her magnificent resort, Margaret smiled. She was finally free, finally respected, and at long last, truly, unequivocally home. What an incredible story, right? It just goes to show that true strength often resides in the quietest corners, and that standing up for yourself, even against those you love, can be the most empowering act of all. It's about recognizing your own worth and setting boundaries, even when it's incredibly difficult. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and let me know in the comments below what you thought of Margaret's incredible journey. Have you ever had a moment where you had to stand up for yourself in a big way? Share your thoughts. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more inspiring and thought-provoking stories. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you in the next one.